Julius Caesar, which might have been pronounced Julius Caesar in Latin times. After Sulla died, other generals rose to power. One of them was Julius Caesar. Caesar was born around 100 BC into an old noble family. He was a man of many talents and great ambition, but to achieve real power, he knew he had to win on the battlefield. Military leader. Caesar first saw military action in Asia Minor, part of present-day Turkey and Spain, but he proved himself to be a great general in Gaul, the area now known as France. The Gauls were fierce fighters, but in a brilliant military campaign, Caesar defeated the Gauls and captured the entire region. His conquests won new lands and great wealth for Rome. The victories also won fame and fortune for Caesar. As an aside, you can still read what Caesar wrote when he was fighting the wars in Gaul today. It's really quite wonderful. It does appear in Latin, and this is what it looks like. It begins, Gallia est omnis divisa in partes tres. Can you figure out any of those words? Anyway, it used to be the subject for a Latin 1 study. It's a little more advanced in classes today, but this is most wonderful to be able to read what a leader from ancient times wrote, and I think this is the first time we really have access to something like this. So that's an aside. So the Gauls were fierce fighters, but in a brilliant military campaign, Caesar defeated them and captured the entire region. His conquests won new land and great wealth for Rome. The victories also won fame and fortune for Caesar. Dictator for life. In addition to his military skills, Caesar was also a good politician. He gained a reputation as a reformer who supported the common people. This, plus his military fame, made him popular with the plebeians. But Caesar also had enemies. Many powerful Romans, including patrician senators, opposed Caesar. One of his opponents was Cicero. Yes, that's the name of my cat. One of his opponents was Cicero, a true Roman consul and perhaps the greatest speaker in Roman history. Cicero was a strong supporter of the Republic. He distrusted Caesar and the ruler's great desire for power. When Caesar returned from Gaul, the Senate ordered him to break up his army. Instead, he led his soldiers into Italy and began fighting for control of Rome. After several years, Caesar emerged victorious. In 46 BC, he returned to Rome, where he had the support of the people and the army. That same year, the Senate appointed him the sole Roman ruler. In 44 BC, Caesar was named dictator for life, as opposed to the usual 6 months. Now, this made people very nervous. Caesar governed as an absolute ruler, but he started a number of reforms. He expanded the Senate by including supporters from Italy and other regions. He also enforced laws against crime and created jobs for the poor. Despite these reforms, some Romans feared that Caesar would make himself king. Don't forget, before Rome became a republic, they had a mighty battle to overthrow the Etruscan kings and Tarquinius Superbus. Not only would he, Caesar, rule for a lifetime, but his family members would also rule after him. Roman hatred of kings went back to the days of Etruscan rule. Assassination and legacy. Concern over Caesar's growing power led to his downfall. Caesar was assassinated in 44 BC by a group of senators. The leaders of the conspiracy were eventually killed or committed suicide. Historians still disagree about Caesar's rule, just as Romans did at the time. Some say he was a reformer who worked to help the people. Others say he was a power-hungry tyrant. In either case, Caesar's rule and his death would bring an end to the Republic. So back to our essential question in this segment, we ask, who was Julius Caesar? And clearly, that is a subject of some question. but in overview. Moving on, we have emperors. What happened to Rome after Caesar's death? After Caesar's death, several Roman leaders struggled to gain power. One of these men was Caesar's great-nephew and adopted son, Octavian. This struggle led to civil war, which lasted for years, many of them. I think it's 20-some. The war destroyed what was left of the Roman Republic. Eventually, Octavian defeated his enemies. In 27 BC, yes, Caesar died in 44 BC. In 27 BC, finally, Octavian became unchallenged ruler of Rome. In time, he took the name Augustus, which means exalted one, or person of great rank and authority. Augustus rebuilds Rome. Augustus was the first emperor of Rome, but he didn't use that title. He preferred to be called first citizen. He restored some aspects of the republican government. Senators, consuls, and tribunes once again held office, but Augustus had power over all of them. Augustus governed well. He brought the provinces under control and strengthened the empire's defenses. He also began a civil service. A civil service is a group of officials employed by the government. The Roman civil service collected taxes, oversaw the postal system, and managed the grain supply. Augustus also rebuilt and beautified Rome. He built grand temples, theaters, and monuments. He replaced many old brick buildings with structures in marble. Under Augustus, Rome became a magnificent imperial capital. The Roman peace. The reign of Augustus began a long period of peace and stability in the Roman Empire. This period is called the Pax Romana, or Roman peace, literally translated. Pax is peace in Latin. The Pax Romana lasted for 200 years. During this time, the empire grew to its greatest size, about 2 million square miles. That was actually under the Emperor Trajan. Under Augustus, the Roman army became the greatest fighting force in the world. Around 300,000 men served in the army. They guarded the empire's frontiers. They also built roads, bridges, and tunnels that helped tie the empire together. Augustus created a strong Roman navy that patrolled the Mediterranean Sea. Rome did have a navy. A strong economy. The Pax Romana continued long after Augustus died in AD 14. Many other emperors ruled after Augustus. Some were good rulers while others were not. But the government begun under Augustus was so effective that the empire continued to do well. Agriculture and trade helped the empire prosper. Farming remained the basis of the Roman economy, but industry also grew. The manufacture of pottery, metal goods, and glass increased. So did the production of wine, olive oil, and other food products. The empire fostered economic growth through the use of trade routes. Traders sailed across the Mediterranean to Spain, Africa, and Western Asia. They also traveled by land to Gaul and other parts of Europe. Through trade, Rome acquired valuable goods not available at home. Traders brought back grain, ivory, silk, spices, gold, and silver, and even wild animals, especially for the Colosseum. Much of this trade relied on the quality of Roman roads. It also relied on the security provided by the Roman military. Currency. The Roman economy was also united by a common currency, or money. In Augustus' time, a silver coin called a denarius was used throughout the empire. A common form of money made trade between different parts of the empire much easier. Traders could buy and sell without having to change their money into another currency. Rome's expanding economy largely benefited those who were already wealthy. As a result, the division between rich and poor became deeper. You will learn about this in our next and last section. But before we go there, please once again pause. Return to the essential question here. What happened to Rome after Caesar's death? You might find it helpful to go ahead and use the red headings.